Oh my God, Ubah asked the cutest question and went around and asked, like, how did you meet the person you love?
But no, why do you love?
Yeah.
We go, why?
Yeah, and Erin was like, what Pavid said was like, I like Jessel because she lets me do what I want.
That's exactly not what he said.
No.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of New York, Season 14, Episode 13. And before we get started, I think that we can all officially agree that Sai does not need to come back for next season. And she needs to thank God that Jessel and Pavid are so calm, because I can assure you, had she pulled that stunt at Swingers with another couple, they would have cursed her out. Sai, I don't know who you think you are where you feel like you're entitled to know Pavid and Jessel's business. How dare you sit up there and question a grown man about why he's going to Vietnam? Whether or not you agree with why he's going, whether or not you believe the story, you don't have the right to question and attack this man and make it seem like he's up to no good. And I get so annoyed hearing you say, I don't care, I don't care. For somebody who doesn't care, you sure care an awfully lot about what Jessel and Pavid have going on. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And if you were truly indifferent about something, you would not be talking about Jessel and Pavid. And it's so funny because all throughout this season, it's apparent that Sai really thought that she ate. She really thought that she was going to be the fan favorite, and it has been the complete opposite. Baby, the way you miscalculated severely, but Miss Mamas, I would suggest that you go and get some therapy, because this fixation on Jessel, being cruel to her for no reason, it's unsettling and it's weird. But with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it, because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up the episode, and when I tell you this first scene had me so heated, we see Erin at home and Sai FaceTimes her. So Sai's like, girl, let me tell you about the lunch that I had with Jessel. And I said, this has to be a sickness at this point. It's clear that Jessel lives rent-free in both of y'all's heads. It's just wild to me that every time Erin and Sai are together, Jessel is their only topic of conversation. You don't feel like a weirdo? Y'all need to write Jessel a check the way you keep her name in your mouths at all times. That woman has y'all panini pressed, and I want you to admit it. So of course, Sai brings up Jessel and Pavid's sex life. She's like, yeah, at the brunch, Jessel told me that her and Pavid finally did the deed, and it took her 25 minutes to preheat. And I'm like, what? Are you an oven or something? Like, what's going on? Now, I said, at your big age, Sai, making fun of another woman's bodily functions. And also, sis, you do know that it's a scientific fact that it takes a woman 20 minutes to reach full arousal during foreplay. And you should feel so ashamed of yourself to sit up here and try to make fun of this woman who shared a very vulnerable moment with you. And I'm really pissed off that Jessel even said anything, but I can't blame her, because she thought that she was sharing something amongst friends and she was having some girl talk. Because let's be real, when you're around your friends and you guys talk about sex and guys and dating, these things do come up. So she thought that it was a safe space for her, and unfortunately it wasn't. And if I'm being honest with you, I'm starting to wonder about Erin and Abe's marriage and Sai and David's marriage, especially after last week's episode when both husbands revealed that if Sai and Erin don't put out after a certain amount of time, they'll be cheating. I just really wonder about how good are their marriages. Because surely if your marriage is so great and so stable and your sex life is amazing, then why are you so fixated on another couple's sex life? It's giving your sex life is a bit dry too, and now you want to take the attention off of yourselves and make fun of somebody else. But I just find it very interesting, because generally speaking, when you're flourishing in your life, you're not really focused on somebody else's life and what they have or don't have going on. But I don't really believe that Erin and Sai are these sex goddesses like they want to claim. I don't. So now Sai goes on to say that she was insulted because Jessel tried to compare her uncle being an alcoholic to her mother. And here goes Erin talking about, oh my gosh, that's just so insensitive. Why would she say that? First of all, Jessel was not comparing her uncle to Sai's mom. She was simply trying to relate. Also, I don't know who died and told Sai that she owned all the world's problems and she's the only one with a traumatic story. Baby, you are not the only one who's dealt with something. I don't know why you want to play this trauma Olympics and it seems like you want to aim for first place as having the saddest and most tragic story ever. You need to grow up. And for you to say that you're just so well adjusted and you don't care about stuff, the fact that you bring up your trauma every single time we get a scene with you says that you're still not over what happened to you. So Sai brings up Pavit's Vietnam trip. She's like, yeah, do you know that he's going next week? And when I asked Jessel about it, she told me that it's for a mileage run. He's just going there to collect the airplane miles. So Erin's like, that's bizarre. He couldn't find another place to do that. He has to travel all around the world just to get some points. So now Sai's like, yeah, he's going for 24 hours. It doesn't make any sense to me. Then she says, a lot can happen in 24 hours. And Sai's alluding to the fact that she believes that Pavit's going there to cheat. Now, whether or not you think that it's bizarre that Pavit's only going to collect the miles, that's your opinion, that's fine. I thought it was kind of weird at first too, but I did my research. Apparently it's more common than you think. People will book a trip to Paris for like 24, 48 hours just to maintain their status at the airline. I just feel like, Sai, that's very cruel of you to put that out there that you think that he's cheating. Once again, I believe that Sai is a miserable person because happy people are not looking for cracks in other people's lives. And it seems like she's just dying to have something over Jessel and Pavit, and she almost wants there to be problems and infidelity, because why would you allude to, well, girl, I think that he's going to do something. I don't believe he's only going there just for miles. He's going there for something else. Like, again, keep that to yourself. And Miss Sai, like I told you in the last recap, not too much talking about Jessel and Pavit's marriage when the rumors and the tea is piping hot about how you and your husband met and the timeline about when you guys actually got married, because the streets are talking. And also, Erin, that was so corny of you to bring Abe over into the conversation. If you and your friend are talking on the phone, why does your husband need to know what you're talking about? You were like, hey, babe, come here. Listen to this. So Sai's like, Abe, what do you think about Pavit going to Vietnam for 24 hours just for the points? And Abe was like, I mean, honestly, I would do the same thing. The fact that he's going away internationally for a couple of days, actually getting some peace and quiet, like, where do I sign up? And Sai and Erin's faces both look cracked because they were hoping to hear Abe clown Pavit and be like, yeah, he's obviously cheating. And the fact that Abe was like, well, honestly, that sounds like a dream. So now we see a parallel scene with Jenna and Jessel hanging out. Now, we learned that Jenna's going to be in Scotland for a few days. Branda's flying her out for a spa weekend, and she's excited. Now, I said, Jenna, you are living the dream. I mean, Jenna is just everything and then some. And I don't care. I need to see Jenna back on season 15 because this show really can't go on without Jenna. I think that Jenna brings so much. Just her being so effortlessly cool, like she really is that girl. But anyhow, she says that she's sad that she's not going to be attending Erin and Abe's couples night because she's going to be in Scotland. So now Jenna's asking Jessel how she's doing, and Jessel tells her that her and Pavit had their staycation at the new Ritz-Carlton in Nomad, and they finally had sex. So now the whole brunch gets brought up, and Jessel says that things went downhill when she brought up her uncle being an alcoholic. And she's like, I wasn't trying to compare anything. I was just trying to relate to her. That's all I was doing. So now Jenna goes on to analyze Jessel. And she's like, you know what, Jessel? I get the impression that you just want to be understood. And unfortunately, Sai's not giving you that. And you keep trying harder. And Jenna is right because human beings have a tendency to want to try to convince people who don't like us to like us. And at some point, you have to say, F it, I really don't give a damn. And honestly, our lives are too precious and life is too short to sit up here and try to convince people who just don't like you to like you. Why would you waste precious energy? And Jessel's way too nice because, in all seriousness, by episode 5 or 6, I would have paid Cy and Erin dust. I'm not going to go back and forth with you trying to convince you that I'm not this person that you created in your head about me. And like I said in the last recap, Cy does not have a heaven or a hell to put anybody in. So at the end of the day, why are you worried about her opinion of you? Let her think what she's going to think. Now, the short scene with Ubah collabing with one of the restaurants that she frequents, I don't have too much to say about it. I thought it was a cool scene. My mouth was definitely watering because that sandwich looked amazing. I said, I need parts of that. But in all seriousness, though, I'm happy to see Ubah thriving. And her Ubah hot sauce looks amazing. And I love spicy foods. I love a good sauce. So I will definitely be purchasing. And I'll give you guys a quick little review about that too, because I do want to try her hot sauce. But I thought the scene was cute, and Ubah, I am here for you, utilizing the platform, okay, and expanding the brand. I said, come through, sis, get the bag. Now, we jump to this next scene with Cy at home, and I'm gonna be really brief and just wrap this scene up in a nice little bow. Cy, seeing you with your Aunt Sophia, your mom's sister, this is the kind of stuff we want to see from you. You were actually pleasant, seeing you guys talking and joking around, making some authentic Puerto Rican food. That's the stuff that viewers actually want. This whole mean girl BS that you have going on, always trauma dumping, less of that and more of these real moments of you actually being a human being with emotions. And your aunt seems extremely sweet and kind and pleasant. So I'm really curious to know, what does your aunt think watching you being mean and nasty all season long? Because I can assure you, if I were showing my ass the way you've been, my family would have a lot to say, like, girl, what are you doing? Like, why are you acting this way? Why are you being so rude? Like, what's the purpose of this? I thought it was very sweet that Cy had gifted her aunt a book of all her mom's artwork, and her aunt was so touched by that. But again, the fact that you've been so nasty, it overshadows when you actually do have a pleasant moment. Because all I could think while watching this was, well, that is sweet, but she's been so horrible all season long. So I really can't fully get into the sweetness of this moment because you've been so awful. So now we jump to Erin and Abe's couples night at Swingers, and they're the first to arrive. And now we see Cy and David show up. Already, Cy is obnoxious like she always is. And she's like, by the way, Erin, I ate before I came. And I was thinking, you really can't help yourself. And this whole thing about you being hungry every time you're out is getting old. We don't care anymore. Grow up. Like, I'm just so sick and tired of Cy. She's so irritating in so many ways. And girl, you think you're so funny. You know good and damn well that Swingers has food. So Cy's asking who else is coming. So Erin says, Jenna's in Scotland, Bryn's sick. So it's going to be Ubah and Jessel and Pavitt. So Erin wants to know if Cy's going to be okay being around Jessel because of what happened at their brunch. So Cy's like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. I don't care. I just want her to be honest and be herself. I said, if Cy says I don't care one more time, I'm going to scream. And Cy's husband is so messy because he was like, oh, by the way, I didn't know that Jessel and Pavitt went on their date. Do we know if they had sex? So Cy says, yeah, she told me they had sex. And now David's going to ask, well, is it confirmed? I was like, you're a grown-ass man asking about another couple's sex life. Why do you care so much? You should feel so embarrassed to be this invested in what Jessel and Pavitt have going on. I know Sai said that David's retired, but it might be time for him to enter back into the workforce if he's asking questions about Jessel and Pavitt's sex life. That's embarrassing. I just said y'all should feel so ashamed of yourselves because y'all are too grown to be focused on what they have going on. So right as they're talking about Jessel and Pavitt show up. Now, Jessel, you're way too mature for me because I would have paid Sai dust. I would not have spoken to her. There would have been no hello. I wouldn't have hugged her. Nothing. I would have straight up ignored her. You don't like me. I don't like you. We're cool. Don't say anything to me. And I loved how shady Jessel was in her confessional. She was like, maybe Sai's jealous because I dress better than her. And I said, girl, that might be it. I get the impression that since Sai and Jessel are both in fashion, I do think that there is some jealousy involved. Sai might be envious because she feels like Jessel had it easy and she feels like she had to fight her way in the industry to get where she is today. That's what I really think it comes down to, where Sai thinks that Jessel just went to the top in the fashion industry through connections and through her uncles. And she, on the other hand, had no money, no connections to speak of, and she had to fight her way to get to where she is today. But even if Jessel did have an easier time making it in the industry, that still does not give you the right to treat her poorly due to your insecurities and your jealousy and your resentment. So now we see all the husbands talking. Abe starts questioning Pavitt about the Vietnam trip, and Pavitt says, yeah, I've been wanting to go for a long time. The ticket would normally cost $15,000, but I got it for $900. So here's where I really got pissed off. All of a sudden, Sai starts questioning Pavitt, and she's like, so why are you going? What's the reason for this trip? So Pavitt says that the trip has been on his bucket list for a long time, and he booked the ticket before COVID, and the ticket is finally opening up. Was anybody else yelling at the TV when Sai said, I know that, but why are you going? And I said, let's just stop right now. The entitlement, the audacity, the unmitigated gall. Who are you? Pavitt is not your husband. He does not owe you an explanation for why he's going. The only person he needs to answer to is his wife. I said, Sai, you have me entirely effed up. I was so livid. I said, who does she think she is? I would have ripped Sai a new one. I would have said, girl, even my mom is not going to question me about stuff, so why are you questioning me? Who do you think you are? So now everybody starts questioning Pavitt. Abe's like, so you're just going to go and then come right back? So Pavitt's like, well, have you ever flown first class internationally? It's amazing. So they're all like, yeah, we have. And I just said, again, Pavitt, I would have shut this conversation down. I would have said, I'm going. I don't need to answer to any of you guys. You're not my wife. So let's just end this right now. And Sai was so nasty. She was like, yeah, I get that, but go somewhere with your wife. Listen, everybody is different. Everybody's relationship is different. Everybody's marriage is different. So for you to say, well, go somewhere with your wife, that is not your place to say that. If they're okay on Pavitt going to Vietnam for 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours, that's their business. Why are you this invested? So now Pavitt reveals that he's not going next week. He's going when the flight opens up. So they're all like, wait, what? I'm just so confused. This makes no sense. And even Jessel was like, I have never had friends be this invested in my husband's travel plans. And I said, but Jessel, you and Pavitt could stop this if you all told everybody to F off and stop questioning you guys. You don't owe them an explanation for what you guys choose to do in your marriage. I don't understand why you guys are just so passive about this. So now we see the guys go off to play some golf, and now Sai goes to the restroom, and it's just Erin and Jessel talking. And Jessel says, I don't know what I've done to Sai. I just don't understand why Sai is so cold to me. Like, I'm just not understanding. Jessel, when you're dealing with people who are miserable, evil, and jealous, there is no reasoning with them. So you trying to figure out the why is a lost cause. Make peace with the fact that Sai is hell-bent on disliking you and misunderstanding you, and go on about your business. If anything, I'd be getting so much satisfaction knowing that my very existence has this woman this pressed. I would find this so funny, like, wow, just the fact that I'm breathing has this woman in a tizzy. Like, she really can't take the fact that I'm here on this earth.
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
So Sai sits back down and she says, look, Jessel, that brunch that we had, that could have been a phone call. Why would you call me out to talk about what happened in Anguilla? So Jessel says, I know that, but I wanted to see your face and I wanted you to understand where I was coming from. So here's where Sai completely lost her mind and had me cursing out my TV. She says, you know what it is, Jessel? It's just the fact that you're not understanding what we're saying to you. There's no accountability, and the fact that you brought my mom up at that lunch, I was super offended. I said, wait, let's just stop and back it up for just a minute. What are you talking about? There's no accountability. All the stuff that you've said this season that you have yet to apologize for, but you want to say that Jessel isn't being held accountable? Just be honest and say, I don't like you, Jessel, and whatever you say, I'm going to find a problem with it. The truth will set you free, sis. Jessel was so irritated. She said, look, I wasn't trying to compare my uncle to your mom. All I was doing was relating to you. That's it. So when Sai went on to say, I never bring up my mom, and I said, girl, what? You've brought your mom up in several episodes. You talk about your trauma and your awful upbringing every single episode, so what are you talking about? And when you kept saying, I was just so offended when you brought my mom up, and Jessel said, okay, and what do you want me to do about it? I said, good, Jessel, don't apologize. You owe her nothing. This woman is grasping at straws, and it's pathetic. And Jessel, you stayed in this stupid conversation way too long, because at this point, I would have gotten up. Sai, for you to call Jessel a liar and then say that she talks in circles and she makes no sense. Jessel, like I said, you're better than me, because I would have gotten up and I would have told Sai, don't you ever speak to me again. I'm just so confused that you've asked this woman to tell her story. She finally tells you, and now you're calling her a liar and saying that she talks in circles. The only person talking in circles is you, Sai, if I'm being honest. So Sai says that Jessel lied about Pavit's Vietnam trip. She's like, you told us at Ubah's event that Pavit was going to Vietnam next week, and Pavit just said that he's going to Vietnam a few weeks from now when a ticket opens up. You just make no sense. You lied. Now, when they rolled the tapes back, we saw that when Jessel was at Ubah's event, she said he's going in a few weeks. She never said he was going next week. So Sai, you're the one putting words in her mouth. Jessel, I am praying that you wore Sai out at this reunion. So Jessel goes on to say that she's so sick and tired of the mean girl stuff with Sai and Erin, and she calls Erin Sai's pet parrot. And mind you, Erin was talking to Ubah at the time, but she turned around when Jessel said that. And I said, Erin, don't be offended, sis, because that's what you are. You're a mean girl, and you are Sai's parrot. And you're lucky that that's all Jessel called you, because I would have called you something else. So at this point, Sai starts screaming. She's like, you had me waiting for you for 35 minutes at that stupid brunch that I didn't want to be at, and you didn't even have the decency to call me and tell me that you were going to be late. Like, I'm just so over you. Now I said, let's just stop and break it down. Sai, if the brunch started at 11, you got there 20 minutes late. You got there at 11:20. So you only waited for her for 21 minutes because she got there at 11:41. You don't really care about punctuality. The reason why you're so mad, because your plan was to have Jessel waiting for you. And Jessel played you because she had you waiting for her. You wanted that ego boost of being 20 minutes late, and when Jessel topped you, you were livid. That's the real reason why you're so upset at the fact that Jessel was later than you. And also, let me point out the hypocrisy, because Sai, if you thought that Jessel was on time and waiting for you, why didn't you call Jessel and say, hey girl, I'm running late, I'll be there at 11:20? So you were also wrong. Don't play with me because I am not one of them. Sai, I would have lit you up. You're a miserable soul with a huge overinflated ego. Baby, don't do it. Don't do it. So at this point, Sai gets up. She's like, I am so over you. You're an effing bitch. And she walks off to play golf with the husbands. Now, Jessel, at this point, I would have gotten up, gotten Pavid, and we would have left. And I would have told Erin and Sai and everybody else to kiss my ass. They would never see me again.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun. I gotta be good.
So Sai walks over to the husbands. She's like, hey guys, I'm gonna join you. So of course, David and Sai bring up the Vietnam trip again. And Pavid, you are way too calm about things. Because I would have told them both, stop asking me about this trip. I gave you my answers. I said what I said. Let's move on. You're not going to keep questioning me. And when David said, yes, I tell Pavid what you would say to me if I said I was going to Vietnam for 48 hours. And Sai says, well, I'd be like, who are you effing over there? And even Pavid at this point was annoyed. He was like, why does Sai keep asking about this trip? Like, talk about your own relationship. Stop talking about mine. And Jessel, if I were you, I'd be asking everybody to cut me a check. Because the way you've been everybody's storyline this season, if I have to be honest, Jessel has low-key carried this reboot on her back. Because without Jessel and this storyline, what would any of you guys have? I'll wait. So at this point, everybody's sitting in the booth, drinking and eating, and you have Sai being immature, and she's talking loud so everybody can hear her, and she's like, I'm just being honest. I say the stuff that nobody else has the balls to say because everybody wants to be cordial, but not me. And then she goes on to say, Jessel's a liar. And Sai, you know who to play with, because if I were Jessel, I would have worn you out right there at that table. I would have read you for filth. I would have had you and David leaving the couple's night early because you want to sit up here and talk about me in front of my face and call me a liar in front of everybody and my husband. Game over. There's no me being cordial or being nice or being polite. I'm taking it to hell. And Sai is the epitome of a bully because only a bully would do this to somebody who they feel is weak and can't defend themselves. So now Ubah jumps in and she starts asking the husbands what made them fall in love with their wives and how did they know that their wives were the one. So Abe says that he knew that Erin was the one for him because she loves sex and she loves life. She's exciting, didn't want to have a boring life, and puts up with his stuff. David says that he's never met a woman more honest than Sai, and they laugh a lot. Now, if the rumors are true about how you guys met and got together, then what you're saying, David, is BS. So Pavid says pretty much the same thing that Abe said. He says that life is an adventure and he wanted somebody to have fun with, and Jessel is the perfect person to do life with. And honestly, Pavid, I was hoping that you would have given a more romantic answer than that. You already know that this group is coming after your marriage. Just give them something to be upset about. I was hoping that you would say, well, I knew that Jessel was the one for me because I was blown away by her beauty and her personality, and she's smart, and she's sexy, and she's this, that, and the third. I wanted to hear that. I didn't love your answer. I thought that Abe's answer was subpar too. And if I'm being honest, I won't be surprised if we find out that Erin and Abe have some cracks in their foundation. Especially when Abe said in his confessional that he wants sex all the time and Erin doesn't. I said, oh, how interesting. You want to poke fun at Jessel and Pavitt, but meanwhile, back at the ranch, your husband doesn't seem to be too satisfied with the amount of sex that you guys have. Now, Jessel, here's where I get irritated with you. I feel like you're always trying to overcompensate and over-explain things. When you were like, yeah, I'm just so chill, I'm really cool about things, I don't care. He can go to strip clubs, he can do what he wants to do. And I just said, you don't owe anybody an explanation. I wouldn't have said all that. Sai and Erin, they don't have your best interests at heart. They don't like you. They want to poke holes in your marriage. So don't even give them any ammo. It almost felt like your nerves got the best of you, and that's why you shared that. Because I wouldn't have said anything. These women don't need to know anything more about you and Pavitt. And at one point, we see David asking Ubah, why is she single when she's so beautiful? And I cannot stand questions like that. The way that question is framed, it makes it seem like there's something wrong with you if you're single. I think that question is just such a dumb question. How do you even answer that? Like, it's just silly. So now we see Ubah off to the side, and she's showing Sai some pictures of her new man. And she's like, Sai, don't say a word. You're the only person who knows about my new man. And the way Ubah and I are right here when it comes to keeping your love life quiet, move in silence in all things, but especially about your love life. Because I don't care what anybody says. The minute you start talking to your friends about your new man or your new woman, everything goes to shit. I'm telling y'all, keep your mouth shut. And especially with the dating market now, and I know people are talking about, oh, well, I don't care about having a man, and, you know, I don't even want a boyfriend. In real life, the girls still want a man. I know it sounds cute for the internet, but in real life, women are still very competitive over men and male attention and male validation. And if you think that your friends who are struggling to find somebody, don't have somebody, or the person that they do have isn't treating them well, you think they want to hear about your new man and how he's treating you right and whining and dining you and buying you gifts? No. Energy is powerful. Keep your mouth shut. My advice, do not say a word. Pop out when you get the ring on your finger. You hear me? I know it sounds extreme, but I'm telling you, y'all, I would not steer you wrong. Please. I have stories. I can tell you from personal experience. Not a word. Some of y'all are struggling in dating because you actually are meeting great people, but you're running your mouth and telling your friends, your cousin, and these folks aren't happy for you. And then all of a sudden, the next day, they're talking about, oh, well, I don't feel the same way about you, or they ghost you, now you're upset crying. Like, what happened? Do it for me, y'all. I want to see y'all win. Like, I love y'all. Please, keep your mouth shut. Ubah has the right idea. But Ubah, with Sai's negative energy, I wouldn't be telling her a thing. She'd be the last person I would tell about my new man. So we get to the last scene of the episode, and we see that Brynn and Jenna are over at Jessel and Pavitt's apartment. So Brynn says that she's inviting everybody to her birthday party. She can't wait for them all to come. And now Jessel brings up that she missed Jenna and Brynn at Swingers the other night. So Jessel says, I thought that me and Sai had left Anguilla on a good note. And Brynn's like, really? I didn't think that. There was still some tension. Even Jenna agrees that she thought there was still tension between Jessel and Sai when they got back to New York. So Jessel says, look, when I invited Sai out to lunch that day, I just wanted to resolve our issues, make sure that we were okay, and just show her that I'm trying to relate to her. So she goes on to say that Sai took it the wrong way, how all throughout the lunch she was calling Jessel a diva and a prude. And now Pavitt jumps in and he says that Sai is bipolar. Now, when Pavitt said that, Brynn and Jenna looked really scared. And Brynn was like, you should probably take that back. Like, that's not cool. So Pavitt starts venting about how Sai was pretty much saying that he's lying about the whole Vietnam trip. And now Jessel starts explaining about the whole ticket thing, how he booked his ticket, but he's waiting for a flight to open up. So now Brynn starts stirring the pot, and she brings up what Sai told her. She's like, Sai told me that Ubah asked all the husbands, how do they know that their wives were the one for them? So Pavid and Jessel are like, wait, what? That's not what happened. That's not what he said. That's not true. And I said, that's just so evil, because Abe's answer was questionable as well. So now Brynn goes on to add that Sai was telling her over the phone how Pavid wasn't wearing his wedding ring. So Jessel says he lost his wedding ring 2 weeks after our wedding. Like, he hasn't worn it since. But that's my best friend. This is BS. Like, why won't they stop?
And she's like, it was so weird. He wasn't wearing his ring. And she's like, I don't know what's going on.
Whoa. Is she trying to imply, what the Are you serious?
Now, look, I'm not married yet, but that would be a problem for me if my future husband lost his ring and then never replaced it and was going ringless. Like, no, I'm aware that somebody can cheat whether they have a ring or not. But for me, I just feel like wearing your ring symbolizes to the world that you are married. And I would have an issue with that. But listen, everybody's different, to each their own. If Jessel and Pavid like it, then I love it. So we close out the episode with Jessel crying. She's like, it's bullying at this point. And Jenna's like, you don't have to defend yourself to anybody. And Brynn pretty much tells her, look, Jessel, if you want Sai to leave you alone, you need to check her one good time and she'll back off and respect you. And I agree with Brynn wholeheartedly. I believe that Sai is one of those people where she won't stop until somebody checks her. And Jessel, if you just read Sai down one good time, she would stop. I can assure you all of this would stop. But because you've been so passive and so sensitive and you want her to understand you, she keeps going on with the BS. But like Brynn said, check her one good time and I am sure she will leave you alone and find somebody else to play with. But I felt really bad seeing Jessel cry like that. She does not deserve that. What Sai and Erin are doing is evil, and I am so glad that they're the most hated on this cast. And I really can't wait to see what they have to say for themselves at this reunion. But guys, that was the episode. That was my recap. Next week is the finale episode, thank God, because I'm getting a bit tired watching these ladies come against Jessel and Pavid like this. So I can't wait to see how the finale ends, and I can't wait for this reunion. But y'all, once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoy, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.